A galactic empire, spanning thousands of star systems, inspired awe. Its ships, swift and elegant, carried formidable weapons, precise and crushing. Centuries had passed in its absolute dominance. The core sector, the abode of the Russian people, was considered the most impregnable in the empire. Giant stations shielded the shipyards of the Star City. Sensitive sensors scanned every corner of the cosmos. Nothing could penetrate without permission. But on one ordinary day, everything changed. Throughout all the ships and stations, sirens wailed and red lights flashed. Officers leapt from their seats. Computers displayed the unthinkable. In the very center of the restricted zone, a colossal ship appeared. No warning, no flash from hyperspace, no trace of engine signatures. The ship simply materialized where a moment ago there had been void. At first, Imperial analysts assumed it was an error. Sensors sometimes glitched. They checked again and again. The images remained the same. Telescopes zoomed in. The ship looked strange. Sharp angles, thick dark armor, a multitude of gun ports pointing in all directions. No smooth lines. No golden decorations like Imperial ships. Only hard metal, created for war. On the hull, in simple human letters, was written, Invincible. In the Empire, everyone knew of humans. They had come from one small blue planet in a quiet corner of the galaxy. They had begun interstellar travel only about 200 years ago, a very young race. The Empire considered them weak and primitive. Long ago, the Empire had signed a treaty with Earth. Humans promised to stay in their home system. The Empire promised to leave them in peace. Everyone believed humans were too occupied with civil strife to become dangerous. But this ship broke every rule. The sector commander, a Grand Admiral, sent a message. His voice sounded calm and authoritative over all loudspeakers. Unknown ship, you are in restricted Imperial territory. Identify yourselves immediately and prepare for inspection. If you do not comply, we will destroy you. There was no answer. The human ship remained silent. At first, it did not move. Then it slowly turned. It presented its broadside to the massive fortress station. Every gun port on that side was pointed directly at the command center. Inside the fortress, officers exchanged glances. Some faces turned white. A feeling that no one had experienced for hundreds of years spread through the room. Fear. The Admiral gave the order. Send Strike Group Alpha. 3 battlecruisers, 12 destroyers. Full fighter squadrons. Capture this ship. If there is resistance, destroy it. The Imperial ships grouped tightly. Their blue shields shone around each of them. Energy lances began to hum. These were the best ships in the sector. Their weapons could slice through stone and metal like paper. No one had defeated them in open combat for a very long time. They moved forward cautiously. At a distance of 50 kilometers, the lead battlecruiser fired a single warning lance. A bright white beam passed very close to the human ship. The message was clear. There was still no response from the Invincible. At 30 kilometers, the entire group opened fire. Dozens of energy lances rushed forward. Bright beams filled the darkness of space. That was when the human ship moved. It did not slide like Imperial ships. It leapt, sharp and fast. The engines roared. The ship accelerated so rapidly that any normal race inside would have perished instantly from G-force. Over 200 Gs acted on the crew. But the humans did not die. Inside the Invincible, men and women sat in reinforced chairs. Special suits pressed tightly to their skin. Machines injected medicine into their blood. Their bones had metallic supports. Their blood vessels were stronger than normal. They had trained for years to withstand such speed. The ship veered left, then right, then spun. Most Imperial beams missed. A few struck the armor. Explosions flashed across the surface, and then nothing. Thick plates absorbed the energy. No holes, no serious damage. Then the humans answered. They did not use pure energy beams. They used metal slugs, very long, very heavy. Magnetic rails inside the ship accelerated them to 40% of the speed of light. The first slug struck an Imperial destroyer. The blue shield tried to stop it. The shield cracked like glass. The slug passed straight through the ship, through the engines, out the other side. A second later, the destroyer exploded in a bright fireball. Another slug. Another ship vanished. The Imperial ships tried to turn, but they were too slow. The human ship continued to move with insane speed. It danced between them. Every few seconds, another railgun fired. Another Imperial ship perished in flame. In less than 2 minutes, the entire group was gone. Only pieces of metal and gas clouds floated in space. One human ship against a multitude of Imperial ones. A complete human victory. In the command room of the fortress, silence reigned. Officers stared at the empty screens. Someone whispered one word, monsters. The Grand Admiral looked at the main display. The Invincible was already turning. It began to accelerate, leaving the system, not in panic, but calmly, as if the battle meant nothing. It knew what would happen next. Urgent messages would fly to the throne world. Fleets would be recalled from distant frontiers. The Emperor would hear the news, and in the heart of every officer in that room grew the same thought. We were terribly wrong about humans. News of the battle reached the throne world within hours. The Imperial Palace stood on a planet with crystal towers and golden skies. Inside the Great Hall, the Emperor listened to his advisors. His face expressed no emotion, but his long fingers tapped on the armrest of the throne. This quiet movement frightened everyone more than shouts. The Grand Admiral appeared as a hologram. He told the story simply, one unknown ship, sudden appearance, no trace from hyperspace, refusal to answer. Then, the complete destruction of an entire strike group without damage to the human ship. The Emperor asked one question, how many ships did we lose? 16 combat ships, all fighters, more than 8,000 crew dead or missing. Silence filled the hall. An old advisor from an ancient race spoke next. His voice was as dry as old paper. We always considered humans children playing with fire. We set them limits. We watched their system. We believed they would never be able to leave. Another advisor added, their technology is strange. No warp engines, not our shields, something more ancient, something brutal. The Emperor stood. I want all our records on the humans, all reports from scouts, all discussions of treaties. Bring them to me now. For days on end, experts studied old files. They discovered something disturbing. Many years ago, human scientists had asked questions about propellantless jet engines. The Empire laughed. Such engines were unstable, dangerous, primitive. No developed race used them anymore, but the humans kept asking. Then, they stopped asking. The Empire thought the humans had given up. They had not. They had built one. Reconnaissance drones sent new images of the Invincible. Inside the ship, humans moved even under high acceleration. They drank special fluids. They wore suits full of tubes. Medical reports, stolen from hacked signals, showed how broken bones healed in minutes. Blood was cleaned of waste, and bodies were changed through surgery and training to withstand forces that would kill any other race. The Empire began to understand. Humans were not strong because they were young. They were strong because their world was harsh, and their planet had ice ages, deserts, oceans full of teeth, storms capable of destroying cities. Humans fought animals, weather, diseases, and each other for millions of years. They became hardened. They learned to endure pain. They turned weakness into a weapon. The Emperor issued new orders. Recall the Third Great Fleet. 400 ships surround and destroy this human ship. No prisoners, no mercy. Across the galaxy, Imperial fleets changed course. Battlecruisers turned, supply ships hurried. The largest force in known history began to gather. Meanwhile, the Invincible did not hide. It moved deeper into Imperial space slowly, so it could be tracked, quickly, to escape if necessary. It seemed to be waiting. Small scout ships watched from afar. They sent images of human activity. The crew trained in high-gravity halls. Engineers checked massive railguns. Pilots practiced in small fighters that looked like angry insects. One scout drone got close enough to intercept a radio message between members of the human crew. A woman laughed. They really thought we would sit in our backyard forever. A man replied, arrogance makes one blind. The drone was destroyed a moment later, but the words remained in the reports. On the throne world, fear began to spread. A quiet, low-level fear. Officers spoke in whispers. What if there are more of these ships? What if they were built in secret for decades? What if we never controlled them? The Emperor sat alone in his private study. He stared at the star map. A small yellow dot marked the Earth system. For centuries, the Empire considered this dot harmless. Now, it looked different. It was as if a sleeping beast had opened one eye. He whispered to himself, we should have killed them when they were still on one planet. But no one would listen. Now it is too late for regrets. The Third Great Fleet arrived at the edge of the Vixar sector. 400 ships formed a giant wall. Battlecruisers in front, carriers in the back, destroyers everywhere. Shields were merged into one enormous blue dome. In the center of this wall, the Invincible waited, alone. The commander of the Third Great Fleet, High Lord Calyx Warrior, had never lost a battle. His ships were flawless, his crews were loyal. He considered the human ship a happy accident, one strange weapon, one moment of surprise, nothing more. He sent a final demand. Human ship Invincible, you have killed Imperial citizens. Surrender immediately or face total destruction. The human ship answered this time. A calm male voice spoke in perfect Imperial. We came to show you something. Watch carefully. No more words. The Invincible began to move. Not away, but straight toward the center of the Imperial wall. Acceleration grew rapidly. Relativistic speeds. The stars behind it stretched into lines because of the speed. High Lord Warrior smiled. All ships, focus fire. Tear it apart. Thousands of energy lances fired. A wall of white light rushed to meet the human ship. Then, the Invincible changed. Parts of its hull opened. Dozens of small craft emerged. Fighters, boarding craft, but also something larger. Long tubes, the size of small warships, detached and surged forward. They looked like missiles, but no engines glowed, no exhaust, they just fell forward with terrifying speed. Imperial anti-air guns opened fire. Lasers, missiles, plasma charges. They tried to stop the incoming objects. Most shots missed. The first object struck an Imperial. It was a solid rod of heavy metal, flying at 70% of the speed of light. No explosion upon contact, only pure kinetic force. The rod punched through shields, armor, decks, and out the other side. The battlecruiser split in half. Secondary explosions followed when the reactors failed. Another rod struck. Another ship disappeared. High Lord Warrior screamed, "They are using kinetic weapons! Outdated anti-air means should he stopped." The rods kept arriving, hundreds of them. Shields flickered and died under blows equal to massive bombs. But no radiation, no warheads to intercept, just fast, heavy metal. The Imperial wall began to break. Then, the Invincible arrived. It shed its outer layers. Now it revealed its true form. A massive carrier mixed with a battleship. Long spiral cannons ran along its length, larger than anything the Empire possessed. Those cannons fired. Each shot sent a cloud of small, guided bombs. The bombs flew like insects. They found weak points, attached themselves, and then detonated with tiny particles of antimatter. Clean, precise, destructive. Imperial ships perished one after another. Some tried to flee. Human fighters chased them down. Small railguns on the fighters tore through engines. High Lord Warrior watched as his fleet died. His flagship shook from near misses. Sirens wailed. The crew ran in panic. He gave a final order. All remaining ships, ram the human ship. If we cannot win, we will take it with us. Several ships turned toward the Invincible. Desperate, suicide raids. The human ship did not slow down. It met them head-on. Its main cannons spoke again. The ramming ships exploded before they could make contact. In less than 10 minutes, the Third Great Fleet was gone. Only pieces remained, slowly rotating, burning, dead. The Invincible slowed. It turned. It looked at the distant Imperial scouts watching everything. A new message came. The same calm voice. This was one ship, one captain, one purpose. You thought we were nothing. You put chains on us. You laughed at our youth. We do not want your empire. We do not want your throne. But if you threaten our people again, we will come, and next time, we will not send just one. The message ended. The Invincible accelerated away. Then, it simply vanished. No flash, no ripple, it disappeared. Across the galaxy, Imperial citizens heard the news. On trading stations, on colonial worlds, in schools, parents told their children in quiet voices about the day one human ship destroyed the strongest fleet ever built. Children asked, "Are the humans coming here?" Parents answered, "We hope not." For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Empire remembered what fear was. After the destruction of the Third Great Fleet, the Empire tried to hide the truth. Official reports spoke of a technical malfunction during exercises, but too many people had seen the battle. Scout drones, merchant ships, refugees from destroyed stations. The stories spread quickly. On Earth, leaders watched secret reports. They did not celebrate. They knew what would come next. The Empire would not forgive. It would try again. In the Imperial Palace, The Emperor called his council. This time, no holograms. All advisors came in person. The room was cold. "We underestimated them," the Emperor said. "We will not make that mistake again." New orders were issued. All shipyards worked day and night. New weapons were developed. Old designs were improved. Scientists studied captured pieces of human technology. They found human slugs. They found parts of engines. Nothing worked when they tried to copy it. Human engineering was too strange, too simple, too efficient. Simultaneously, spies tried to infiltrate human space. Most never returned. The few who did returned with bad news. Earth did not have just one ship like the Invincible. There were many, hidden in asteroid belts, under oceans, behind moons. Some larger, some smaller. Some carried weapons no one understood. One spy saw a shipyard inside a hollowed-out moon. Hundreds of railguns were under construction. Lines of fighters were ready for launch. Humans worked without fear. They sang songs while welding armor. The Empire decided to start total war. No more separate fleets. The entire border would be fortified. Every system close to human space received new stations, new minefields, new sensor networks. But the humans did not attack. Not yet. Instead, small groups of human ships appeared near Imperial colonies. They did not shoot. They simply watched. Sometimes they broadcast messages. One message read, "We see you building war machines. Stop or we will stop you." Another read, "Your people live on many worlds. Our people live on few. Think about what that means if war starts." The Empire answered with threats. "We have trillions. You have billions. We will crush you." Humans answered, "Numbers did not help your third fleet." Silence followed. Inside human space, factories worked 24 hours a day. New ships grew. Crews trained in simulators imitating Imperial weapons. Scientists improved engines, made railguns longer, made slugs denser. Children studied history, not just human history, but galactic history. They learned why the Empire feared them. Now, on Earth, a young pilot asked her teacher, "Will we win if they come?" The teacher answered, "We do not want to win their empire. We want them to leave us in peace. If they do not do that, we will ensure they never forget the price." Months passed. The Empire waited. Humans waited. Then, one day, a small human ship appeared near an Imperial border station. It carried no weapons, only one passenger, a human ambassador. She met with Imperial diplomats on a neutral station. She spoke quietly. "We do not want war, but we will fight if you force us. Cancel the old treaty. Let us travel. Let us trade. Let our people live freely. Or continue the old path and see what happens next." The diplomats laughed at first. Then, they remembered burning ships. They remembered one voice that said, "Next time, we will not send just one." They sent a message to the throne world. The Emperor read it. He sat in silence for a long time. Finally, he spoke, "Tell them we will discuss the terms." It was not a surrender, not yet, but it was the first time the Empire had ever backed down. Years later, the galaxy became different. The old treaty was abolished. Humans traveled freely. Their ships appeared in trading ports. Their merchants sold goods. Their scientists shared ideas. But everyone watched them carefully. No one forgot the Invincible. In the quiet of night, in bars on distant worlds, aliens told stories. Oh, they spoke of the day one ugly ship appeared from nowhere. They talked about railguns that ignored shields, about acceleration that broke bodies, about humans who fought under forces that should have killed them. Children listened with wide eyes. "Are humans dangerous?" they asked. Adults answered, "Only if you make them angry." On Earth, life continued. Humans worked, laughed, loved, created families. But every adult knew the truth. Peace was not free. It was paid for by readiness. In hidden bases, ships waited new ones. Invincibles, larger, stranger. Crews trained every day. They hoped they would never have to fight again, but they were ready if the day came. One old captain, who had served on the original Invincible, sat on his porch and looked at the stars. His hair was gray now. His hands shook slightly. A young officer asked him, "Sir, do you think the Empire will ever try again?" The captain smiled slowly. "Maybe. Arrogance dies hard, but they remember now. They remember one ship. They remember what happened when they underestimated us. And that memory will keep the peace longer than any treaty." He looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, among the stars, his old ship and its sisters were waiting silent, patient, and ruthless if necessary. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. Humanity was no longer young. Humanity had awakened, and the stars never seemed quite as safe again. Part 6. Years passed after the Empire agreed to negotiations. Old borders slowly opened. Human ships started appearing at neutral trading stations. At first, aliens kept their distance. They watched from corners. They whispered when humans walked by. But humans did not shout. They did not display weapons. They traded food, tools, music, stories. They bought rare metals and strange plants. They paid fairly. They left quietly. Many aliens started to relax. Some even became friends. A young trader from a bird-like race named Elra began selling glowing crystals to human captains. One day she asked a human trader named Marcus, "Why was your people silent for so long? You could have come out earlier." Marcus smiled slightly. "We waited to see if you would attack again. When you did not, we decided that peace is better than further struggle." Elra looked at the floor. "Many of us lost relatives in the old wars. We were told humans were wild, dangerous, like animals with weapons." Marcus nodded. "We heard the same about you. Great empire, cold hearts, ready to crush anyone who does not submit." Both laughed quietly. It was an unhappy laugh. It was the laugh of people who had seen too much death. But not all aliens accepted the changes. On a dark planet on the edge of old Imperial space, a group of officers still served the old order. They called themselves the True Guardians. They believed the Emperor had become weak. They believed humans were a disease that needed to be cut out before it spread. Their leader was Admiral Zaraket. She had been a young officer during the Third Fleet battle. She had seen her ship burning from a life pod. The memory never left her. Every night, she saw the railgun slugs tearing through metal. Every night, she heard the calm human voice saying, "Next time, we will not send just one." She gathered old ships, hidden shipyards, and loyal crew members who hated the new world. They built in secret new shields, faster engines, weapons copied from human designs, but better, they thought. One day, Zara sent a small fleet into human space, not to fight openly, but to test, to harm. 3 fast raiders attacked a small human mining station in an asteroid belt. They destroyed the station, killed everyone, took the ore, and left a message carved on the remaining rock. "Humans have no place among the stars." News reached Earth quickly. The human council gathered in silence. Old captains sat next to young leaders. They looked at photos of the destroyed station, at bodies floating in space, at the children among them. A woman named Captain Elena Reyes stood up. She had flown as a junior officer on the original Invincible many years ago. Her hair was gray now, but her eyes were as sharp as ever. "We kept the peace because we wanted it," she said. "But peace is not weakness. If they want war again, we will give them what they ask for." No one argued. That night, orders were given not to all ships, only to the silent fleet. Ships that had waited in deep space, in dark nebulae, behind gas giants. Ships with names like USS Indomitable, USS Vengeance, USS Silence. They moved not fast, not noisily, but slowly and carefully, like predators in tall grass. Zara waited on her flagship, the Blade of Eternity. She now had 50 ships strong, modern. She believed they could win. Scouts reported that a human fleet was approaching. Only 12 ships. "Ha!" she laughed. "They send so few." Arrogance again. She arranged her ships in a tight spear, ready to break through. The human ships appeared on the edge of the system. They did not attack. They stopped far away, too far for normal weapons. Then, the first shot fired. No slug, no beam. A small object, tiny, moving very fast. It passed between Zara's ships. No explosion, no sound, but every screen on every ship went black for 3 seconds. When the screens returned, the human ships had approached much closer. They had used the short blackout to engage engines at full power. Now, they were inside the formation. Zara screamed orders, "Fire all!" Too late. The human ships opened their hulls. This time, not guns' doors. Hundreds of small drones poured out. Each drone carried one thing, a short-range EMP pulse. They flew between the Imperial ships. Close, very close. Then they flashed. Blue light. Silence in the ether. Shields shut down. Engines sputtered. Weapons failed. In that moment of confusion, the human railguns spoke. Not one slug at a time, a storm of metal. Zara watched as her fleet died again, one after another, fast, clean, no chance to answer. Her own ship shook. Sirens wailed. A slug passed through the engine deck, not close enough to kill the ship instantly, close enough to slow it down. Helpless, the human flagship approached before her. Its hull was black. The ship had no name on it, only a small symbol, a simple image of an open hand. A voice sounded over the open channel. Calm, tired, female. Admiral Zaraket, you killed miners, families, children. You left a message. Now, we will leave one. Zara tried to speak. Her voice broke. Are we going to destroy all of us? No, the voice replied. We destroy only what attacks us. Your ships end here. Your life ends here. If you choose to continue fighting or you can live, go home. Tell the rest what happens when you break the peace. Silence. Zara looked around her bridge. Her crew looked at her. Some were crying, some looked angry, most looked devastated. Disable weapons, she whispered. All ships, cease fire. The human ships stopped firing. They waited. One by one, Imperial ships turned off their guns. Engines went quiet. Lights dimmed. The human voice sounded one more time. Return to your worlds. Tell them the truth. Humans do not want an empire. We want to be left in peace. If you let us live freely, we will let you live freely. If you choose war again, we will end it. The human fleet turned. They did not chase. They did not destroy the disabled ships. They simply left. Zara sat in her dark bridge. She thought about the miners, the children, the message on the rock. She thought about the symbol of the hand on the black ship. An open hand, not a fist. She gave her final order. Set course for home. Transmit to all channels we can reach. The war is over. We lost, and we were wrong. Years later, the story of the true Guardians was lost. Most people did not remember Zara's name. They remembered the open hand. On trading stations, human children played with alien children. They laughed together, they shared food, they told stories. And sometimes late at night, an old alien looked at the stars and said quietly to his human friend, "Your people could have taken everything. You chose not to, so we trust you now." The human only nodded, because some lessons are written in fire and some in silence. The galaxy continued to rotate, quieter now, safer now, because one race learned to be strong without being cruel, and others finally learned to listen. Decades passed after the fall of the true Guardians. The galaxy slowly changed, like ice melting under a new sun. Old hatreds faded, new friendships grew. Human children grew up speaking alien languages as easily as their own. Alien children learned human games, football in low gravity, chess with holographic pieces, stories about wolves and dragons from the blue world they had never seen. Trade grew. Human grain worlds that once starved now prospered. Alien medicines cured human diseases that doctors on Earth could not cure. Ships of all races stood side by side on giant stations. No one pointed weapons anymore. Customs officers checked cargo, not intent. But the world was never perfect. Far from the busy trade routes, in a forgotten system called Curus 9, something stirred. An old Imperial observation post had been empty for years. Dust covered the consoles. Long ago, the power had failed. Then, one day, a small automatic drone arrived. It carried no flag, no markings. It repaired the solar panels, turned on the lights, and began to listen again. The drone was not Imperial. It was something more ancient, something left by a race that vanished before humans learned to walk. A race called the Observers. Observers once ruled their small empire. They were not cruel. They were cautious. They watched every new race that reached the stars. They judged. And when a race seemed ready to destroy everything, the Observers acted quietly, completely. No one ever saw them coming. Their machines still waited in dark corners of the cosmos, patient, eternal. The drone on Curus 9 listened to everything. Trade chats, diplomatic messages, songs, laughter. And then it heard something that made its main processors stop. Humans were building a new type of ship. Not a warship like the Invincible, not a carrier something else. A ship designed to go where no one had gone before. Beyond the edge of the known galaxy, into the true void between galactic arms, a place that even the oldest maps marked with warnings. Here, there was nothing. The ship was named Un's Horizon. It carried no weapons other than small defensive lasers. It carried scientists, researchers, families, seeds, frozen embryos of animals, libraries full of every story humans had ever told. The goal was simple: find new homes, spread life, ensure that humanity and perhaps others would never be trapped in one small corner. The drone sent a signal. Deep in the black void, something answered. On Earth, the horizon took flight, without big ceremony, without parades. Only a small crowd of families waving from the ground. The ship rose on soft engines. Then, it jumped not the old way, not the cruel way of the Invincible. A new drive, smooth, quiet, built on the lessons of peace and war together. It vanished into the long night. Months later, the first reports returned. Faint, delayed by distant snapshots of new stars, strange planets, oceans of liquid methane, forests of crystal trees. No intelligent life yet, but potential, infinite potential. Then, the report stopped. At first, humans thought it was the distance. Signals require time, but years passed. No word, no beacon, nothing. Worry grew. The human council gathered again. The old faces were gone. In their places sat new ones. But the same question hung in the air. What happened to the horizon? They sent scouts small, fast ships. They searched the last known coordinates. Nothing was found. No wreckage, no traces, only empty void. Then one scout found something worse. A single black sphere floating in the void, without lights, without engines. Perfectly smooth. It looked as if it had been carved from night itself. The scout sent images home, then its signal cut off. Panic did not spread this time, not as it had before. Humans had learned patience. They gathered information carefully. Alien governments offered help. Ancient Imperial archives were opened. Ancient records of long-dead species. One file mentioned the observers. A warning written in dead languages. They do not conquer, they erase. The council decided not to attack. Not yet. Instead, they sent a message. Not in anger, but in calm words. One ship went unarmed. Not fast, just honest. It carried one person, Captain Aisha Malik, granddaughter of Elena Reyes from the days of the original Invincible. She had gray in her hair now. She had flown many ships. She had lost friends to the True Guardians. She had seen how peace grew. She believed in it. Her ship, the UNSM Bridge, slowly approached the black sphere. Weapons were not armed, shields were not raised, only open channels. Aisha spoke, "We, the humans, come in peace. Our ship, the horizon, is missing. If you took it, tell us why. If you fear us, tell us why. We do not want war, we want understanding." For hours, nothing happened. Then the sphere opened, not with doors but with light, soft white light that took shape. Words appeared in the void in perfect human English. You spread too fast. You carry fire in your hearts. One day, you will burn everything. Aisha answered without hesitation. We carried fire when we were young. We burned ourselves many times. We learned, we stopped burning what we love. Now we carry light as well. Silence again. New words appeared. You are young. You are changing. We have seen young races destroy galaxies. We act to protect. Aisha smiled sadly. Then, watch us longer. Release the horizon. Let us prove we can be trusted. If we fail, then act. But give us a chance. The sphere pulsed once, twice, then vanished. Within minutes, a signal came from afar. The horizon beacon alive, unharmed. The crew was confused, but safe. They had been held in a pocket of folded space. No harm, only detainment. The sphere appeared for the last time. Words appeared. We will watch, not close, not far, we will watch. Do not force us to act. Then it vanished forever. The horizon returned home years later. The crew told stories about empty worlds, beautiful dangers, new life. They brought back samples, plants, stones, data. They also brought back something else, hope. The galaxy heard this story not as a victory, not as a defeat, but as a warning and proof. Humans could go beyond fear, beyond old hatreds, even beyond the observers. In quiet nights, humans now looked at the stars differently, not with fear, not with pride, but with cautious wonder, because somewhere out there, eyes were still watching. And humanity continued to move forward, one cautious step at a time, carrying both fire and light, ready for whatever came next. 1,000 years passed since the Invincible first appeared from nowhere. Time itself began to feel different. The galaxy had aged in the gentle manner that forests age. Rich with memories, slow with wisdom, still full of green shoots breaking through. Stars were dying, new ones were born, Races reached the stars, and humanity lived through long golden ages and then quietly passed into legend or silence. But the children of Earth never stopped moving. They did not rule, they did not conquer, they just remained curious. One small ship drifted at the very edge of what anyone called the galaxy. Its name was the Last Echo. Not majestic like the Invincible, not full of hope like the Horizon, just honest. The Last Echo carried only 3 crew members. An old human woman named Mira Soul, a crystalline being named Vex who sang instead of speaking, and a young feathered scout named Tyra, who had never seen Earth but loved its stories. They had come because of a whisper, not a signal, not a message carved on stone. A whisper that reached them in their dreams. The same dream for all 3. Night after night, the voice of the ancient stars sang one phrase, "Come, see what remains." They had followed it for years through nebulae thick as fog, past black holes that sang low songs, to regions where light itself grew tired. Finally, they arrived. There was nothing there. No planet, no station, no ruins. Only one point of soft white light hanging in perfect darkness. It did not pulse. It did not move. It just existed. Mira looked at it for a long time. "There it is," she said quietly. Vex sang a short, sad note. Tyra's feathers pressed against her skin. They did not send a probe. They did not scan. They simply opened the airlock and stepped out in suits that could keep them alive forever if necessary. They floated toward the light. As they approached, the light did not become brighter. It became deeper. Layers unfolded inside it. Memories, not images, not words, but feelings made visible. They saw everything at once. The first humans looking at the moon and dreaming. The moment the Invincible materialized and turned fear into awe. The black sphere of the observers opening like a flower, not closing like a fist. Elena Reyes walking out of the Echo with gray hair and calm eyes. Sari sitting on her porch and telling children about open hands. They saw wars that never happened because someone chose to wait one more day. They saw strangers meeting for the first time and sharing food instead of weapons. They saw children human, crystalline, feathered, scaled, winged, playing together under all types of skies. And then, they saw the end of fear. Not the end of danger. Danger would always exist. But the end of the fear that turns hands into fists. The light spoke without sound. "But you kept choosing it," it said. "Even when it was hard. Even when no one was watching. Even when the easy choice was anger." Mira felt tears inside her helmet. Not sad tears, but full tears, like a cup that had been empty for too long, finally overflowing. "Why us?" she asked. "Why show this to us?" The light answered, "Because you never stopped asking why. Not how to win, not how to survive. Why be kind when survival says, be cruel? Why explore when safety says, stay home? Why listen when power says, scream?" Vex sang again, a long rising note of wonder. Tyra whispered, "What next?" The light became very soft. "Next is yours. All yours. The story does not end here. It only changes form. Some will sleep. Some will dream new dreams. Some will carry the fire forward. But the choice remains the same." It showed them the last thing. A vision of countless worlds, not empty, not conquered alive, different, strange, beautiful, each of them touched by hands that once held rail guns and then learned to hold nothing. And in the center of this vision, a small, stubborn, and bright blue dot called Earth, still there, still rotating, still sending ships out, still telling stories. The light began to fade, not forever, just resting. It left them one small gift. A seed, not a plant seed, not a mechanism, a seed of a feeling, something that could be planted in hearts. It carried no instructions, only the memory of every instance where someone chose light instead of fire. They returned to the Last Echo. They spoke little on the way. When they returned, they made no announcements. They wrote no books. They simply lived with the seed inside them. Mira told her grandchildren bedtime stories that ended with quiet questions instead of loud answers. Vex sang new songs that made listeners remember kindness they had forgotten. Tyra flew to new worlds and asked strangers, "May I stay and learn from you?" instead of "May I stay and teach you?" And slowly, without any planting by anyone, the seed spread not as a rule, not as a law, but as a habit. Humans began to pause before speaking in anger. They began to listen for a second longer. They began to smile at creatures so different that, in the past, they would have run away. The galaxy did not become perfect. Pain still existed, mistakes still happened, loss still came, But fear no longer held the rudder. One quiet night, far in the future, a child on a world that had never heard of Earth looked at the sky and asked her mother, "Why are the stars so bright?" And her mother thought for a moment. "Because long ago," she said, "someone very small and very stubborn decided not to be afraid anymore. And they taught everyone else how to do it?" The child smiled. "I want to be like them." Her mother hugged her tight. "You already are." And somewhere in the deep silence between galaxies, a very old light flickered once. Not a warning, not a judgment, but simply an acknowledgement. One human warship had appeared from nowhere. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, and humanity had answered, step by slow step, choice by small choice, not destruction, but everything that followed, questions, mercy, time, open hands that never again curled into fists. The end of fear, the start of something more. And the stars finally felt like home.